All right, hello and welcome to Swing It and Ding It, an iHeartMedia podcast. This is Moose along with Mays and Matthews on this chilly Philadelphia week. It is going to warm up a little bit. Danielle's a little chilly down there too. We just talked about it.
Cold.
Mid to high 50s.
The sweater came out of the closet today.
Yeah,
but it'll be back in the closet by noon.
Yeah. But we go to another cold climate with our next guest, Ty Stuart from Golf Kicks, who's in the Denver area. Great story, great brand. So really excited to talk to you, Ty, about how you started and everything that you guys are doing.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
No doubt. So let's start first with your golf journey, right? How you got into the game, and how that kind of morphed into getting a business going on within the game.
Yeah, first of all, I'm not a great golfer. None of us are. We started this thing with three. One of them's my buddy from Iowa, and then a neighbor here in Denver. And on the website it says Krosky, my partner that went up on Shark Tank with me, is a 100.
100. I saw that.
This year I played a bunch. We usually play like the Muni here. We've got good public golf in Denver. Occasionally we get to a fancy course, but I got, at least on my app, it said I was in the single digits at the end of the season. So
nice.
Improving, hopefully, very slowly.
Nice.
But yeah, so I was not a big golf guy growing up at all. Played other sports. And before Golf Kicks, I had an invention. I had done this thing. I fly fish a lot, elk hunt, do a lot of outdoor stuff, and I have a patent on a rollable tackle box, basically for fly anglers, where you use a fly that's a big streamer, almost like the size of a lure, that mimics fish, minnows, crawdads, and the traditional way to hold it was you put it in a big fly box, but this thing lays out flat like a placemat kind of. You stick your hooks in it, rolls up, goes in the backpack. It's called the sushi roll. So I had been, and I'll get back to golf in a second, but I had been through the patent process on that, and it was kind of a napkin sketch patent thing, and then we got the real patent. And that I licensed to a local company here in Denver called Fish Pond. They make a bunch of stuff, sell it all over the world in fly shops. And Golf Kicks, the idea for that was just kind of, sitting at the bar. I had pondered it for a while, and I have all sorts of other ideas too. But one of my buddies was like, "Hey, that one's pretty cool. Maybe you should try it." So we were in the tech business, Krosky and I, my partner, before. So we had an ad network. Anyway, we started messing around in the garage. Our other partner, Matt Mokus, where we would take usually a Pride Sports manufactured replacement golf spike, like Champ, Soft Spikes, those brands. Pride Sports owns those brands. And we would drill out the center of it, mess around with screws, and we hacked together kind of a prototype in the garage over in Matt's garage, and we're screwing it into the bottom of Jordan's, Chuck's. So that was kind of the origin story. And then we started talking to golf courses here locally around Denver, and we got enough feedback. It wasn't all positive, but you could tell there was either people hated it or loved it, right? Which you want when you invent something. You don't want that kind of nobody cares thing. So we had a lot of people that loved it, including some golf professionals. There was a woman down at one of the courses in Denver who was like, "Oh my God, they don't make any cool golf shoes for women. You should totally do this. We'll carry them in our store." So we had enough positive feedback. We came out, our version 1, and cut me off if I'm rambling, but our version 1 was pretty bad, right? We had this design group out in Southern California. They did a great job on the design, but we tried making the screw out of glass-filled nylon, and we didn't know what we were doing. We paid like $50,000 for this mold, which we ended up tossing because it just didn't even work. So the first version was pretty bad. We put it out there. We did all the different things. We did a Kickstarter campaign, sold a couple thousand of them. But the good news there was we got a bunch of customer feedback. We realized we need to make the screw out of metal and changed the shape a little bit of the, the surface facing. That's kind of patent speak, right? They say the shoe facing side and the surface facing side.
Gotcha.
In this case, a golf course. Anyway, somewhere in there, we got a call from Shark Tank, which I thought was somebody pranking me.
A prank. Yep.
I was like, BS, who is this? And she was like, no. And my boyfriend saw you guys on Instagram. We want to have you guys on. So
Wow.
At that point, we were working on our version 2. We went through, all the background check, due diligence stuff with Shark Tank, which is pretty intense for the 3 of us. We had to get rid of some police records and, things like that. But anyway, we went out, we filmed the show, Sony Studios. It went great. It's kind of a fun product, right? So you see on Shark Tank sometimes where they kind of go dark side and get real angry. That didn't really happen to us. Everybody was pretty positive about it. And we had Lori and Mark fighting over it, which was fun if you see the show. And we did the deal. We ended up not consummating the deal with Cuban afterwards, but he was great. The short story is our lawyers wouldn't let us do the deal. It was very fair financially, and it was everybody was cool. It was just didn't work out. Our lawyers were like, you cannot sign this deal. And I'm not supposed to go into many details there. It's been long enough, but you get a very large, thick stack of legal paper. At the time, I think it was $300,000 for 12% or something. And anyway, we got real close on it, but we ended up not doing it. But then we did all the other things like we did some crowdfunding, friends and family, all the startup. At one point, we did a Republic campaign, which is like a crowd safe, improved the product. And then somewhere in there, this goes full circle back to the kind of the Pride Sports Champ spikes in the garage, but they became our manufacturer. So now every replacement spike you've ever put on a FootJoy or Nike or Adidas golf shoe, that's our manufacturer. So they make these things. We're on the version 5. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, we got it.
So we have this patented kind of, we call it Metallicore. I haven't gotten in trouble yet with the band Metallica, but we trademarked that. And so it screws into the shoe really nicely. At version 4, I think, of this, we added shoe goo for multiple reasons. One, it kind of signals the customer you're putting these things in and leaving them in, right? You're not just doing it like if you're traveling and you're going to play Pebble Beach or something, you screw them in, take them off, go back to your work meeting. We had some people thought that in the beginning, but we were kind of like, nope, sit down, crack a beer, whatever, take your time, do it right. So we added a little tube of shoe goo. So nowadays the product comes in a little golf ball sleeve. There's 20 spikes in there, cool. Shoe goo, a hand tool, and it's really easy if you have a power drill. We include a little bit in here that fits perfectly. It's a 5mm hex. You put a little dab of shoe goo on the spike and screw it in. There's some shoe guidance, like you want a flat rubber sole really helps. We have people that break the rules, but usually they know. They're like sneakerheads that know what they're doing. Put them into Crocs, cowboy boots. We had Greg Norman's
I wouldn't think you could do Crocs because there has to be a minimum sole, right?
I was wondering that
the
too.
Crocs are actually thick enough. The metal component is only 6mm long, so they'll go into some shockingly thin soles.
Wow.
Vans, you can feel them. You don't feel the metal thing digging into your foot. You just feel that the whole cleat under
sort of pressure underneath your foot.
Yeah, on the cart path, you'll feel it. It doesn't really matter on grass, but yeah, Crocs. We're buddies with the folks at Crocs. They're right up the street in Boulder. They make a bistro version for chefs that has a rubber layer on the sole. That one, if you're going to do Crocs, use the bistro Crocs.
Crocs on the course. I got to see that.
But just to be clear, though, once you commit whatever pair of shoes it is to the golf kicks, the cleats, they are golf shoes then. It's like you can't.
They're golf shoes. You can take them out. Like I do a lot for marketing purposes, right? Like I'll throw them in a pair of Jordans, Air Max, whatever, make a video, wear them playing golf. But if you take out the spike, it barely leaves a little indentation in the sole. Some sole, and we recommend rubber, but some soles show it more than others. But you're fine. You're not going to like resell the $1,000 sneakers probably after you put golf kicks in them, but they work fine. I have half my shoes I've put golf kicks in just to test out, and then you can wear them no problem. And then also, if you need to replace them, we get this question a lot. Even though you've shoe glued them in, and we recommend this kind of 8 spike pattern here. I've got this pair of Pandas here, these Dunks.
Yep.
This is kind of the pattern we recommend. We don't like one way up on the toe just because you don't need it, and you'll snag on every piece of carpet in the clubhouse, right? And you can do whatever you want, but this is kind of what I've done hundreds of these things, and this is where we end up. So anyway, that's what it looks like.
How many of those spikes come in
There's
the
20
sleeve?
20
in the kit. There's 16 on an adult size install. I think these are size 12s, but
is Pat Perez using them? I know he's a big Air Jordan guy. He's got about 1,000 pairs of Air Jordans.
Yeah.
He does. He's not using them. Our pro kind of claim to fame, we had Scott Stallings wore them for about a year. He got a deal. This gets into some kind of nuanced stuff, but he got a deal with, we're not on a bunch of pros on the pro tour, but Danielle's husband's going to be wearing them here in a couple months. Scott Stallings got a deal with Noble, right? You know those shoes, you see them at gyms a lot. They now, I think, make a golf shoe, right? But at one point, he was actually up there. I think he was in the top 5 in the Players Championship or something. And I had a customer be like, dude, I'm pretty sure Scott Stallings is wearing golf kicks right now. I was like, no way. Like, nobody told me.
You didn't even know.
I kind of zoomed in, and then sure enough, the Noble, somebody at Noble had bought our spikes, put them in for him.
Wow.
So that was cool. And it was during a time where he was playing really well. So he was kind of all over the place wearing Nobles and golf kick spikes in there. We also had a cool thing happen with Yulimi No. She was playing in the Solheim Cup for the USA. And this is another random thing, but I saw this Steph Curry on Instagram was like, hey, he was doing a little clip saying, hey, Yulimi, we're so pumped you're wearing the kicks. He was talking about his kicks, not our kicks, but they had taken a pair of the new Steph Curry Under Armour, whatever model it was, and Yulimi No was wearing them. They were like high tops with golf kicks in them. So that was really cool.
Good for your marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Anyway, where were we? Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, Harry or Danielle, you want to hop in?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm just curious on the Shark Tank piece, right? Because that fascinates me,
Yeah.
right? It's a couple of questions. How many episodes did you watch to prepare?
I had watched. I mean, I'm a fan of Shark Tank, still am, and I had watched a bunch of them. And you they have their recipe, right? And they're very professional. Like between even the behind the scenes stuff we saw. Like they've done this a lot. They've been doing it a long time, right? And they're trying to make great TV. It's also basically like an SEC sanctioned pitch. So you can't go in there and, lie about your sales or anything. You have to operate like it's a true SEC business meeting, shareholders, all that. So they have to find that balance. And then, they try to make you cry, make you laugh, do all their stuff, try to make great drama on TV. But yeah, we watched a lot of Shark Tank. It's funny, in the beginning, Krosky and I are the ones that went on the show. John Krosky, my co-founder, and Matt Mokus is my buddy from Iowa, originally from Iowa. Anyway, Krosky and I were doing our pitch, kind of practicing, and it was really the same thing we had been, and we were out investing at the time. We had to get our act together for like the Kickstarter campaign. And the story was what it was, right? Wear anything you want on the golf course. it wasn't really a money saving thing. It can be a money saving thing, but most of our customers were putting them in like $500 Jordans, right? And it's a look cool thing, right? Which Cuban fully understood. Not all of them did, but anyway, that watched a bunch, and then we started doing the pitch, and I was like, Krosky is just terrible at this. We got to get some professional help. So we hired these women in Denver who are like theater coaches. And we went in there for like 6 sessions. It was really expensive for us at the time. And they were basically like, you're yelling. Like, it sounds like you're yelling at us. But then when we went and when we did the Shark Tank, you actually do. You're pretty far away from the sharks, and you do have to kind of project. Anyway, by the time we were done with the theatrical coaching, Krosky was way better than I was. And I was like, maybe I'm the weak link here. But we had done it so many times. I mean, hundreds of kind of the pitch, that initial thing that you see on the show, and you only see 6-7 minutes of us, right? And you're in there for an hour. So I kind of browned out in there. Afterwards, they do this green screen interview, and I was like, oh my God, what just happened? And it all went great. We got the deal. But so we did all that prep. Yeah. Anyway. It was awesome. Fun, and we felt prepared. It kind of just was automatic by the time, because we had so much practice getting yelled at by the theater gals.
That's amazing, that prep work. After you did Shark Tank and the episode aired, what did that do for the brand in terms of follower increase, customer increase?
It was great, obviously, for marketing. We had, I think at the time we were doing about $50,000 a month in sales on our Shopify site, and we did $50,000 in 24 hours when they showed it. And then they continued. At that point, we had the version 2 product, thank God. Like, it had the metal core, and it was much better for customers. And anyway, yep.
So we want to see if,
and then they replay it a bunch too, right? So
which is awesome.
You'd be looking at your numbers, and it would spike, and you'd have
every
a
time
huge
it's
day,
on.
and be like, oh, they must have just showed it somewhere. Yeah.
That's tremendous. So are you able to break any news, right? Are you going to be Mark Cuban's running mate? Because he says he's not on Shark Tank anymore. He sells his piece. What else would he be doing all this for? Like, is it a Mark Cuban, Ty Stuart 2024 run?
Wow. I don't know. Even though I was able to go on Shark Tank with my questionable record, I definitely wouldn't be able to run for any political office. So I hadn't thought about that. I just saw, on Instagram and in the news that he was selling off a chunk of the Mavs, and that was always his total baby, right? We made pretty good friends with his team down in Dallas. He has 150 companies at any given time, right?
Right.
So he's a busy guy. He was actually shockingly on it and engaged for like 48 hours when we were trying to get the deal done. I was like, wow, how does this guy have this much time on his hands? And
right.
He owns a company in Denver. I'm spacing the name of it. It's a production studio, and his brother runs it. So anyway, I knew a few things about how he operated, and we had friends that were like, he is a machine. Like, he'll sit down at a Mavs game and rip off like 30 emails and texts. And so anyway, he was great. I hadn't even thought about him running for something, but he was really cool with us.
Yeah, because he said he's coming off a Shark Tank too. He said it's his last season of Shark Tank. So all of a sudden, all these things he's hanging up. Yep. It's like, why would he be doing that, right? Wow. So we'll see.
Well, the website is golfkicks.com, and I love the tagline, screw your golf shoes. That's brilliant right there.
Oh, yeah.
We had a guy help us, came from the surf industry. I like that too. I don't know if it does. We've been trying to get into retail lately. We are in a few retail. We have some retail partners, but in the beginning, I was dealing with these like shoe buyer who they've been buying golf shoes for 100 years, and they're kind of, I think, tired of their jobs, and they didn't like my tagline. They didn't like screw your golf shoes, I don't think. I think it served us well.
How much is online compared to retail and like getting into golf shops at clubs, that kind of stuff?
Right now, so we are like 60% Amazon right now. with golf kicks and 30, let me see if my math adds up here. About, I'd say 30% Shopify, golfkicks.com, and then 10% wholesaling to retailers. So we haven't really gone, that's the future of this, is we're going to get bigger retail deals done. We're in Shields stores. We've been in Shields stores for a while. They are awesome to deal with. They're throughout the Midwest. I don't think you guys have them out in Philly or Florida, but they've been wonderful. We're in PGA Tour shops. So it's those little ones in airports, not PGA Tour superstores yet, but those little shops in airports, we're in there. They love it because it's just a little display. They don't have room for a huge shoe display, right? And then we just came out. So anyway, I think we'll get in the golf shop. We're in some green grass shops too. We're in some really cool sneaker shops like Manor Phoenix. I don't know if you know those guys. They're awesome. That guy's a CU Boulder grad. I'm a Buff. So we've been having fun watching Dion this year, even though we lost more than we won, but huge improvement, right?
Started out on fire.
A
Yeah.
lot of buzz.
Anyway, that's kind of the sales breakdown is Amazon, then golfkicks.com, then some retail, which you'll see go up. And then we just came out with the exact same thing. We talked about this on Shark Tank, but it's the exact same idea, right? You screw it into the bottom of a pair of sneakers, but it's a stud. So it's a little stud, same exact screw design, and it goes in and it makes you a pair of baseball cleats, right?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Mostly for kids. So this is a pair of Jordans. This is our display for it. This is going into Shields soon. It's a little bit less expensive, and it'll be much more, like I said earlier, like with the golf, as we were getting the Golf Kicks brand going, we had to be sensitive to things like green friendliness, right? And people were like, oh, those things are going to tear up the greens. And we were like, no, it's actually the exact same as your Champ Spike, right? And it's manufactured by the same company. So, but this is called Yard Kicks. These little studs, mostly for kids, right? You're not going to see them in the World Series, but we just launched it. We did a pilot program, and it's been really fun. So that'll be kind of the next thing too.
Maybe the Little League World Series.
Oh,
Little
yeah.
League World Series for sure. We did a test pilot program where some of our influencers, it's really, my favorite ones are these guys, bullfighters. They're actually rodeo clowns, but they like to be called bullfighters. So we've got a couple professional bullfighters randomly. I don't know how they found out about us, but they put our traction in, and then they wear big, colorful high tops, and they're running from these bulls out there. So it's like life or death traction, right? So anyway, we did a test pilot program for Yard Kicks. We sold about 2,000 of them inexpensively just to get feedback. We've already hardened up the material, but I had some guys like, this guy was like a 6'5" pitcher on a rock hard mound, and he was like, yeah, I lost a couple. And I'm like, yeah, they're not really designed for pro 230-pound pitchers to be chucking them. Anyway, so I think with that one on the marketing side, we've gone a little bit more like, this is for kids. We've had a huge amount of like beer league softball people use them, which is great. But we've taken it less seriously, right? It's for fun. People are still putting them in expensive Jordans, but that's
tremendous.
Great stocking stuffer move.
That's what I'm saying. If you're listening or watching this and you're thinking about what do I get my kid or my dad or my wife, or like this is such a great gift. Anyone would love this. So make sure you check out golfkicks.com. Follow them on Instagram at golfkicks.co. Really love what you guys are doing, Ty. I was excited to talk to you. I love the inventor, entrepreneurial side of stuff too. So this is fascinating to me. So continued success to you guys, and hopefully we'll talk again down the line.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for having me, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on.
You got it. Thanks, Ty.
All right. See you.
All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, man. Talk soon.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Appreciate it. See you.
Thank you. You know who would be good for him is Danny Holmquist. She's like a sneaker psychopath.
Oh, yeah.
And she doesn't have a shoe. She won't take a shoe deal because she doesn't want to wear a foot joint. She wants to wear
there you go.
Yeah.
I got to connect them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was her name?
Danny Holmquist.
Danny Holmquist
Yeah.
from
Okay.
LPGA. We can get her on here too.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'll let him
Yep.
know. All right, here we go. We'll come back. We'll talk about
All the things.
TGL, Luke. We'll do a little T, and then we'll get into. Do we want to talk? I forgot about the Min Woo Lee win.
Min Woo Lee, Australia.
Yep. All right, cool. All right, here we coming back. All right, welcome back to Swing It and Ding It. So cool to talk to Ty Stuart over at Golf Kicks. Awesome product.
Yeah.
I need to get some. There's a couple pairs that I definitely, especially like, you know, Jordans I've had for maybe like a year or two that like I find myself not wearing them because they look a little bit beat up, but they'd be amazing for the golf course, right?
Yeah.
Like, very cool.
I got
And
a buddy
When he-
that wears the Crocs, and when I heard
Really?
that you go into the Crocs, man, I'm like, I gotta turn him on to these.
It's like
Oh,
Club
yeah.
Pro guy. He
Send
wears
him to
those
sleep for his
sandals.
birthday.
Yeah,
Right? The whole time he was talking about it, I'm like visually going through my closet of which ones would look because it's tough. And like you said, one of the women was like, there's
Yeah.
no like good looking women's golf shoes. I mean, there's some, but yeah, this is a game changer.
yeah. What an idea. Seems
Very
so
cool.
simple too, and usually
That's
those
how
are the
it
best
happens, right?
ideas. You know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you could tell, like, these guys that do this kind of stuff, it's like, I have a fishing thing. I like that their mind just, like,
Yeah.
boom, 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 goes to the next thing. It's
The
fascinating
fishing
to
thing
me.
reminds me of my travel jewelry thing.
Right.
Like,
My
it's
wife
literally
has one of
like-
those. Yeah. The sushi roll, he called it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tremendous
cool.
stuff. Well, speaking of sushi rolls and speaking of cooking, Minwoo Lee, he got to
about that?
cook. How about that win, man? I mean,
Wow.
he's just an exciting guy to watch.
Yeah, he really is.
You know, he's had some ups and downs, but to see where his game is now and some of those shots he made, just tremendous win for him, especially in Australia here.
Yeah, the Australian PGA. I mean, that's a big tournament on the DP World Tour, and you know he's one of these guys in this next year. I've been kind of watching him, and you know, fantasy golf and some of these big tournaments. He's a guy that's going to play in the majors, and he's got all kinds of upside ability. Now he can crash, you know, like big time,
Hard,
too.
yeah.
But he's got incredible game. And how about Cam Smith missing the cut? He was like 8 or 9 shots off the pace
Yeah.
of the cut line. I think was even, and I think he was +9 after 2 days. That was startling to me.
Pretty cool, though. There was a story about, I guess he was supposed to sign autographs or whatever, and he stuck around to make sure he signed everything he could for everybody, which
Yeah,
is
that's
pretty
cool.
cool. I mean, if you're like, you know, you're probably not too happy at that point, especially
just wanna
at
get out of
home.
there.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. And Mark
that's pretty
Leishman
cool.
had a nice tournament, another live player. I think he finished in the top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. So, Danielle, we go down to South Florida to get your report on the TGL and what the heck happened down there.
You know, it was funny because when we first saw the news come out, they're like, "Oh, not a big deal. No technology was hurt. Like, not going to
Wasn't
cause
the
a
actual
delay."
course, it was more, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Harry's like, "Yeah, let's get our Jupiter reporter." And I was like, "I'm going to go over there and see this." But I was like, "No, the reports say nothing." And then I see they're pushing it back to what,
year.
2025?
2025. Yeah.
And I'm like, "What's happening?" So it is over. Usually on Saturdays after the gym, I go to Trader Joe's and it's right over in that area. So on Saturday, I'll go and I'll capture some video or photo and see if I can see anything. But I was excited. I was ready to go to one of the first events, but I had no idea that. I mean, I told you guys, I think via text or on the phone, when I woke up that morning to go to the gym, I was like, what happened overnight? There was palm fronds all over. Like, I think they said we had a mini cyclone come through. So honestly, I was sleeping. I don't know what happened, but the streets looked like something happened. And apparently to push, TGL back a year. I mean, I feel like they put a buffer in there too, just because of that little setback,
Well, yeah. I mean, they have a tight window really to get this product up and running and get it in those months, and if February and so forth. And once they realize it, we might not make it. Well, let's just bail.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Buy us
either
more
then or
time.
it's next year. So
Yeah.
Well, speaking of bailing, John Rahm was mentioned to be a part of that, and then all of a sudden he's not a part of it. And now it has been even more reports this morning that he's in negotiations. Harry Mays, I go to you right now. Is John Rahm playing on Live in the near future? Yes or no?
Well, I think so, but based on what I've been reading is that he wants them to change their format to a 72-hole events and also have some cuts or at least bigger fields, I guess. And, I like that aspect of it because, I've been bemoaning the fact that it's 54 holes and it's kind of not really a golf tournament. since they started. So, if you're going to, and the numbers you're seeing, and it's rumored, but when you see a lot of rumors saying $600 million, I mean, who's turning their nose up at that? No matter where this money's coming from,
I'm on my way.
That's impossible to say no to, if you ask me. Yeah. And, John Rahm's in the Masters for forever because he won it. He's in the U.S. Open, at least, I think, till 2031, based on his exemptions. And he's in the Open Championship as a result of those major wins for a bunch of years. So I figures, hey, I get to play in the tournaments that really matter to me, and I'm going to get a huge check. So I think this is going to happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the PGA Tour released some new updates that they're doing, and adding more restrooms is one of them. So,
oh boy,
could that get him to stay?
That was one of his pet peeves. They need more porta johns.
Yeah. But I don't know. More porta johns or 600? I don't know. That's a toss-up.
And interesting how it affects the Ryder Cup. And obviously, there's been some big news this morning with Luke Donald running it back. I mean, pretty easy decision, but a pretty interesting one, right? I don't think Zach Johnson's going to get the.
I doubt it.
I'm in full agreement.
I doubt it.
We're going to veto.
Yeah. I mean, but you say no Zach Johnson. Who would you think would get it then?
Yeah.
That's really the question.
Right. Yeah. You still, like, the Tiger thing still floats out there. You never know.
Freddie Couples. I mean, I know he's been the President's Cup captain a few times, and he's always a vice captain on the Ryder Cup teams, but he's never been a Ryder Cup captain.
Yeah. Very curious to see.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big one, man.
that
Beth Page. It'll be here before we know it. That's for
U.S.
sure.
soil. Yeah.
Yeah. But good for Luke. I mean, he deserved it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No
He
doubt
seemed
about
like
it.
a steady, smart,
The moment he found out, we've talked about this before, I was like with him, and he was like, boom, like, I'm planning. He was planning from the moment he got that assignment, which
took it seriously.
he understood the assignment.
Yeah.
He certainly did. And someone who always understands the assignment is Danielle when she spills tea. So what kind of tea do you have to spill today, Danielle?
We had last week off, so I had so much tea, but obviously, I thought this was pretty funny that Tiger coming back, he said, someone asked him on the decision and how he got in. He goes, well, I asked the board and they opened up a spot for me, which is hilarious because it's his own tournament. But also we have Willie Z returning back for the first time in 8 months, coming off back surgery. So he went under that fusion surgery.
Yeah, poor Willie Z. Nobody's talking about him returning because it's all Tiger.
Well,
right?
my intro was going to be, the eyes of the golf world look to the Bahamas as a return of one of the golf greats, Will Zalatoris.
Right.
Yep. But no, all eyes on Tiger. So one thing that Tiger did say, though, is in an ideal world, he would like to play and hopes to play one tournament a month in 2024 with a schedule that would start in February at the Genesis Invitational and end at the Open Championship in July at Royal Troon. So my question for you guys, can we see, and do you think Tiger is able to come back and play one tournament a month through 2024?
Can I answer that on Monday?
You want to see him? You want to see what happens?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, if he's saying he has no pain, right, it's just a matter of getting his game up to a certain level. But I don't think that's a problem for him,
Well, the Bahamas could be the flattest golf on the planet, too. So he's not going to have a whole lot.
Right
of
up your alley, Harry.
Right,
up your
exactly.
alley.
It's exactly what I love. But yeah, I mean, the Genesis in February, like you said, the Players would be in March, Augusta in April, the PGA, and then the U.S. Open, which is, and then the Open Championship, like you said. I think it's probably going to happen.
I feel like
another setback.
And if he gets to that point, he's going to want to have a couple warm-up tournaments before majors too. So you can see him playing twice in a month, leading up to a major. He's going to have to if he wants to be competitive.
So follow-up question, do we see Tiger winning again this lifetime?
I'm not betting against him.
No, I wouldn't.
I mean, I just can't.
They asked him, they said, do you think you can win? Without hesitation, he's absolutely. So, I mean, it's Tiger.
Yeah.
We'll see. But
I mean, listen, he looks, other than his injuries of his lowest body, he looks bigger and stronger than he ever has.
Yeah.
Just
right?
that leg.
I don't know if that's going to help or hurt him because sometimes guys get big and they changes
Messes
their
up their
swing.
swing.
But yeah.
Yeah. I briefly mentioned when we were talking about Rahm that the PGA Tour is adding more porta-johns, but in other changes where they're, trying to keep up with, I guess, live, if you will, and some changes they've made. And here's some notables: enhancements to player and caddy dining, cold plunge tubs for recovery, which we've seen that sprinkled out a little bit last year, complimentary courtesy car for every single tournament. Generally, I think like 75% of tournaments last year had them. Private snacks and bathroom areas for player families, my absolute favorite. I don't have to wait in line. I can quick go in. And then additional player restrooms for on-course use and complimentary dry cleaning for players and caddies. And this is probably a huge win for caddies. Going to come in, save them probably $150 a week. Complimentary picture yardage books for the caddies each week. So if you're a caddy, you like that change. It's just a small little thing the tour can do. They're getting free dry cleaning now and free yardage picture books. So pretty good changes. Interested, there's a whole thing if you want to look on Nuclear Golf. They released some player leaked the email of everything that's included there, but that's happening.
Great follow, Nuclear Golf.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If you shift it over to the Phil Mickelson, I don't know if you guys have been watching this, but
man.
the Alan Shipnuck and Phil Mickelson, this has been going on for years. Have you guys been following this?
Oh yeah.
Always.
They should
hilarious.
do a celebrity boxing match. Right?
I pay. I would pay-per-view it for sure. It'd be hilarious. But, it was on the Rahm topic of saying like whether it's happening or not. Yeah. And Alan comes out and it's like, yeah, like Phil Mickelson confirmed it, in so many words. And Phil came out and he's like, this isn't true. And I don't know anything. I don't want to know anything. And I haven't said anything. Alan is the worst liar and a pathetic human.
Wow.
Tell us how you really feel, Phil.
Jeez. Yeah. Don't leave anything out. So that's kind of been going back and forth with that. And then we'll end it on a little bit of a light tea. And I think this is so cool. I know Brandon talks about his home course and where he grew up all the time. But this is a driving range. Ricky Fowler bought the driving range that he learned, he learned the game on where he grew up practicing. So
Temecula, California.
It's Marietta Valley driving range.
Okay,
yeah. So interested to see if he's going to make any enhancements or just leave it. Because a lot of people said, it's just a run of the mill kind of run down driving range. So, but how cool is that? You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Going back and buying a piece of your childhood. So I think that's kind of cool.
Very cool. Good stuff. Thank you, Danielle. All right, so the eyes of the golf world. No, I'm just kidding. So we do head to the Bahamas, and of course, anything that Tiger does says is a story, and one of them is his caddy, right? Like who's going to caddy for him? It's his guy Rob McNamara that will be on the bag this week. But people are asking him if Charlie can caddy for him. What's going on with La Cava? So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I don't know how much he really needs a caddy other than someone.
I was going to say, I think a golden retriever could caddy for Tiger,
Job. Yeah. Rob McNamara, you mentioned, he's the president of TGR Ventures and, one of his closest business advisors, plays a lot of golf with him down in South Florida. So it'd be a good tandem.
Yeah. And this is an interesting tournament, right? 20-man field, a lot of big names in it. Hovland, who's won here twice. You can't really touch him at 400. And then Scheffler getting high odds and Morikawa getting really high odds at plus 800.
Did Sheff finish second last
Scheffler's back-to-back second places, too.
Yeah.
Along with Hovland back-to-back wins.
Yeah, wow. But, it's interesting, right? It's the Albany course, the Bahamas. So, Harry, we go to you for the course, of course. Tell us about this place.
Yeah, Albany Golf Club, designed back in 2010 by Ernie Els, the Big Easy, with one of his designs. They've been holding this tournament here since 2015. It's a link style, 7,400 yards with 5 par 5s and 5 par 3s. So kind of a different setup than what we're used to. Featured holes include the par 3 second hole, which Ernie compares to one of his favorite holes of all time, the 13th hole at Muirfield. One of the Open Championship venues, and also a short par 4 14th that has a split fairway. Guys will be going for the green on that one. That'll be interesting. And the par 3 17th, which is surrounded. The whole green is surrounded by a lake. Those are the 3 that stand out. But many of the holes are pretty unremarkable, and they tend to kind of blend together and look alike. So it's not one of those. It's a beautiful place and a beautiful venue, but if it, the golf course, I don't think really stands out. The 18-hole record here is a 61 by Ricky Fowler back in 2017 when he went on to win at 18 under par. We mentioned Victor Hovland back-to-backs. Bubba Watson, the first year it was here in 2015, Bubba shot 25 under to win it. So a lot of birdies to be made with 5 par 5s. Wind, obviously, one of the biggest defenses. But, hey, anytime Tiger tees it up, it's mandatory television.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
but no Rahm, no Rory.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. I thought you would see one of those guys. But each of the past 5 winners here has finished T4 or better at an Open Championship. Pretty interesting stat because there's comparisons to that link style golf. You wouldn't think that, right, when you think about a course in the Bahamas, right? You think more of like a resort style, but interesting, very interesting. So as we move to kind of see the line here with our friends at DraftKings, because of that, it made me circle Brian Harman on my board at 2,800, right? Someone who won the Open Championship, and the other guy I'm really liking at a nice number is Justin Rose, T3 in 2019, T9 in 2021, and he is a Bahamas resident.
Yeah, he lives there. Right.
He lives there, right? So at 3,500, that's a pretty decent number. Yeah. I like Morikawa with his link success, winning the Open in 21, but that 800 number is a little rough. And the other guy, I don't know why, is just jumping out to me is Finau. I mean, he has a second in 2018, a seventh that he's had here. So the number's not great at 2,200, but I could see him making some hay here.
Interesting you bring up Brian Harman and Justin Rose because there's a matchup on DraftKings, and I took Brian Harman for much the same reason you like him because of the Open Championship link at -130 over the hometown guy, Rosie. And I'm taking Matt Fitzpatrick at -110 over JT. And then there's a matchup, Cameron Young, who's played in a couple of the fall events, not spectacularly either. Jordan Spieth is +100. Cam Young's favorite at -120. I'm going to take Spieth at +100. I'm a little down on Cam Young going into the next year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Danielle, what did you see the story about Spieth? He said he hurt his wrist getting something out of the toaster for one of his kids or something.
I did see that, and someone's like, "Oh, well, that must have been a big piece of toast." And he's like, "Well, I actually didn't even have the toast out yet." He's like, "I guess he kind of leaned on the counter to go in and grab the toaster, and that's when it happened." So,
wow,
it's funny. Weird stuff like that can happen. Yeah, some people sneeze and their back goes out. It's like you don't realize. Yeah.
No doubt about it. Well, hopefully, Harry, you and I are trying to get out on the golf course on tomorrow, which is Thursday, because it's going to be close enough to 50 to get out there. But, the days are dwindling.
Yeah, they really are. They're few and far between. You got to take advantage. We'll be doing some indoor stuff at the Penn Club on 2nd here in Conshohocken over the winter. But we missed last week, obviously. Ludwig Aubert got his first PGA Tour win to go with the one he has on the DP. How about that performance on the weekend? Back-to-back 61s. Mackenzie Hughes shoots 60 and 63 on the weekend and lost. I mean, think about that kind of golf. This kid is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Eric Cole, our buddy, finished T3. He had a 67 on Sunday, which followed a 61 on Saturday. So great performance out of him. And I guess this whole Rookie of the Year thing is now kind of a fight now between Ludwig and Eric Cole.
We actually had our own Rookie of the Year party for Eric Cole this past weekend. It was pretty cool because Eric is such a chill. Him and his fiance both, which are getting married, not this week, but next week. They're so shy and chill and quiet. And so one of his sponsors who the house was at said hey, we're having dinner. And he's a huge Bama fan. And I don't know if you saw that snap go over and they almost lost the game. So when he left his house, he had just saw that play. So he's telling his fiance, he's like, look, we got to go in there with energy. Jim's going to be pissed. This is probably going to be a miserable dinner. We really got to go in there and keep this energy high. And he walks in and there's 50 people surprise. Wow. And he's like, wait, what? Is this an engagement party or what's happening? And it was kind of cool. They went through all of his stats and stuff. So it was pretty cool. We talked to him though, and he's like, he goes, I was trying so hard, to get that win, but he was just taking us through each round. And he's like, I did everything I could on Sunday. He's like, just wasn't my week.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and no more Paul Azinger at NBC. How about that?
Gone.
Out.
out. And there's some rumors that Paul McGinley might have been approached
that on
to
Twitter.
be the successor. You know, maybe our guy Fax moves up the chair from. You know, that wouldn't be a bad deal, right?
I like it.
I wouldn't mind seeing him go with a little bit of a youth movement, right? I don't know how.
What, Smiley Kaufman?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a name. I just feel like
Yeah.
they need to be a little bit more engaging on the younger side of the game.
But
somehow.
yeah, it just has to be a polished one though, because
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it was just like the Netflix thing that I didn't like, but they had Joel Damon, and it wasn't for me. I would have to watch that on mute.
Yeah. Some guys.
McGinley, I think, would be good though.
Yeah, I think he would be. I like him. Yeah, no doubt. So we'll see how that all pans out. We thank our guy Ty Stuart from Golf Kicks. Again, check that out. If you're looking for something last minute, stocking stuffer, gift for somebody, Hanukkah, Christmas, something, you know, it's an awesome one. So make sure you check that out and give them a follow over at golfkicks.co. And we will be back next week to talk about how Tiger Woods played, basically.
Oh, yeah.
See you then.